Hello, BookTube, and welcome to Vlogmas Day Epsilon of Vlogmas, in which, as you can see, we're back in Mordor. For those of you who are just joining us, there's a sort of a hutch, what one of my subscribers referred to as a cubby, that is inset into the wall of one of the rooms here at Hyde Cottage, and predictably enough, I have filled it with books. And the population of books and the nature of the books changes over time, but one way or another there are always piles of books in here. So this isn't for Vlogmas. I want to sort of go through here, but it's not actually a shelf tour, because this is all, as far as I'm concerned, this is unorganized garbage. I plan on totally redoing this shelf, and I've had an idea. Last time I made a video like this, last time we talked about Mordor, I listed a bunch of possibilities, including putting a drape right over here, and the last possibility I listed is the one I think I'm going to go with, which is to come up with a theme and actually use every inch of this shelf space. Just fill it with books, maybe a category or a type of book that I want to keep, but that I don't consult that often. But this space should clearly be used for books. So, but we're going to go through. Right now they're in piles. They're not even lined up horizontally. They're just in miscellaneous piles. So we're going to go through one of those miscellaneous piles for Vlogmas. So, and I can see right now that this pile is largely comic book, graphic novels. So if you're not interested in graphic novels, you might want to skip this video. Lord knows there'll be plenty of other videos. You won't hurt my feelings. But the first few things are books. Well, what have we got? Oh, okay. All right, great. This is from this year. This is from October. This is part of the Year's Best series. This is Year's Best Science and Nature Writing, with the Year's Best series culls from periodical literature everywhere. For, oh god, the list is endless now. It used to be just short stories, Best American Short Stories. Now it's Best American Periodical Writing of all kinds, and there's some wonderful stuff in this volume, if I remember correctly. I read a lot of science and nature in periodicals. I read a lot of stuff in periodicals just in general. I always consider it sort of a failure if I get one of these volumes and I don't recognize any of the pieces from having previously read it that year, especially short stories and science fiction. But even nature, if I remember correctly, Rachel Levin did a piece for a Center of Public Integrity on a behind-the-scenes look at Scott Pruitt's EPA. Those of you who are not in America, Scott Pruitt was for a while the head of the Environmental Protection Agency. He is a robber baron, a complete thief, and hired only complete thieves. And the epic corruption of his EPA happened on such a flagrant scale that even the most earnest government watcher couldn't help but find it funny. That's how bad it was. It was like something out of an Italian opera. And he was so corrupt that he actually left the Trump administration, which is entirely full of corrupt grifters. So you'd think you'd have to work really hard, and he did. This article lays out stuff, what we know. Probably there's a bunch of stuff that we don't know. But there's another one. There was another one in here that I really, really liked. What was it here? Well, for The Atlantic, there was a piece, a lot of you probably saw it. Barbara Haggerty did a piece called When Your Child is a Psychopath. And The Atlantic got tons and tons of letters, people saying, when isn't your child a psychopath? But there was something else. Oh, yeah, here it is. From New York Times Magazine, from the magazine that comes with the Sunday newspaper, Stephen Johnson did a piece called Greetings, E.T., Please Don't Murder Us, which is sort of an elaboration on the Fermi paradox and the Drake equation and what all the aliens are waiting for in order to contact us, in order to contact Earth. We find thousands and thousands of Earth-like exoplanets just by looking, just a tiny sliver of the night sky. We find thousands of them, drastically increasing at least the ideological likelihood that there are other intelligent species out there, technological intelligent species, which only raises the stakes on the Fermi paradox, which asks the question: where is everybody? Where are all the aliens? If life teems throughout the universe, then where is everybody? And the key qualification in that question, that I think so far the thing that stands out, obviously we know now that Earth-type habitable planets in the Goldilocks zone, in other words, where they're not too cold so that water can't form, and not too hot so as to prevent chemical combinations. We now know that planets like that exist in multitudes. If we can find 4,000 in 4 years, then there are what was actually predicted, probably millions of them. No, the question isn't if there are all these planets, it's if there's life. And I think that we only have a sample size of 1 for life. Life on Earth is prolific and tenacious and inventive. And it seems like something in the biotic matrix of Earth encourages it, because it happens everywhere at all times in all environments. What if that is rare or unknown? It could be that it doesn't matter how many exoplanets there are, that life itself, the phenomenon of self-replicating molecules, of much to say nothing of technological intelligence, maybe those are extremely rare. Maybe these Earth-type exoplanets will be teeming with microscopic life, the way Earth was for its first few billion years. Anyway, let's move on. Oh, okay, we saw this already. This is Merlin Tuttle, the great Merlin Tuttle. This is Secret Lives of Bats in paperback. He is the bat guy. He's a bat god in bat studies, and this is not just lively natural history, but also a lot of autobiography, which I didn't see coming and really liked. And then we have graphic novels, but this first batch doesn't look like a graphic novel. Oh, okay, all right, now, okay, because it's not. These are original issues for Marvels, a 4-part series from Marvel Comics written by Kurt Busiek and drawn by the great Alex Ross, that tells the story of the beginning of the Marvel world. So there you have the press corps in the 1930s, and they are astonished by what they're seeing, because they have just seen Professor Phineas T. Horton unveil the Human Torch, the very first Marvel superhero. And these things came in individual issues with acetate covers over Alex Ross illustrations, and there were 4 of them, 4 issues. And I knew right from the beginning that this was going to be collected. You could tell right from the first issue that this was going to be one of the greatest Marvel storylines of them all. And it didn't let me down. It's every chapter is just brilliant. And for some reason, I just decided to keep them, even though I knew they would be a hardcover graphic novel, a softcover graphic novel, an anniversary graphic novel, a deluxe, a slipcase, you name it. And that has happened. And I think part of the reason that I saved these is because I was reading them as they were coming out, and they were so good that they have a kind of sentimental attachment for me. So they're just sitting here with the graphic novels. Okay, then we've got Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. This is just a retelling of the Superman story from the beginning, with meeting Lois Lane for the first time, and meeting Lex Luthor for the first time. And I am not a fan of this artist at all. He draws people with weird teeth. He has a thing with teeth. People, you can turn to almost any page and you'll see someone with ferret teeth. That just, I mean, what is that? What is going on with that face? Anyway, but I thought the book was really good, and it of course was rejiggering Superman continuity, as Superman comics always tend to do. Okay, speaking of the devil, here's another one. This is Kurt Busiek. Yes, no, this is Mark Waid. And this is Superman Birthright, and this is yet another retelling of the Superman story. Meeting Lois Lane, getting his costume, growing up with the Kents in Smallville, becoming Superman, meeting Lex Luthor. This is just another retelling of those. I thought it was really effective, especially, I won't spoil it for you, but especially the very last page. Very last page was worth the wait. No, the rest of it was really good too, but... what is the next one? Oh, all right. Well, this is getting a little excessive, don't you think? This is another rejiggering of the Superman story. In this story, this is by Kurt Busiek and Stuart Immonen. Stuart Immonen, his artwork just jumped a whole level of quality for this. He's always really good, but this it just becomes incredible, just amazing, and has never gone back. And this is just a story. It's a story of what would happen if a normal guy who happens to be named Clark Kent in a world in which Superman is a comic book, not real, suddenly got Superman-like superpowers. And I thought that was kind of hokey, but I liked it. It ended up being really good. And down off the shelf with that came another Superman story, What these are doing out here, I have no idea. These are Keeper Superman volumes. But this is Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow by Alan Moore and Kurt Swan, and it's the final Superman story in a way. It was already known at this time when this was coming out in 2 issues. This very thin thing, but it's a classic Superman story, and it was already known when this was coming out that Superman, Action Comics, DC Comics presents that Superman was being canceled for the first time in his history and relaunched. So they decided to write one last classic Superman story, and boy, oh boy, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay, all right. This is one issue of the 4-issue miniseries where the Justice League and the Avengers first fight and then team up. I knew this was going to be a graphic novel. I don't know why I kept... Oh, no, I do know why I kept this original issue. Because this is George Perez. The artist is George Perez. And if you look at this cover, that is every character who has ever been a member of the JLA or an Avenger. Every single one of them. The detail is absolutely mind-boggling. He gets every single... He misses nobody. Every single character who's ever on either team is on that. George Perez piece that outdoes George Perez himself. Okay, all right, great. This is The Invaders. Roy Thomas is a Marvel Comics... that's a great Gil Kane cover. Look at that. Roy Thomas is a great Marvel Comics writer. And he had a big thing for the past. He was a big thing for reviving older properties, for making nostalgic look-backs. And this, he eventually convinced the powers that be at Marvel Comics to let him set a story in the past. The Invaders is a super team set in the 1940s, with the linchpin being Marvel's first big three characters: Captain America, the Human Torch, and the Prince Namor, the Submariner. They are the heart and soul of the Invaders. This has great Frank Robbins artwork. That he has a very acquired taste. I don't think he'd have many fans today. But this just tells the stories of the Invaders' adventures during World War II. I loved it. I was very happy when Marvel started reprinting them. What is this next one? Oh, a classic. Okay, for a while Marvel did a reprint series called Marvel's Finest, where they just reprint classic storylines, and this one is the KreeSkrull War, with a new cover by Neil Adams. 3 cows took me down. This is just a 1-volume collecting the great epic KreeSkrull War, where the superheroes of Earth become embroiled in an intergalactic conflict between the Skrull and the Kree empires, which we're going to see in Marvel Comics' new superhero movie Captain Marvel, where that comes front and center. And it was one of the first attempts in the Avengers storyline for a really big cosmic story. Worked really well. Those of us who were reading it originally loved the daylights out of it. Let's see. Oh, okay. All right. This is Avengers Prime by Brian Michael Bendis and Alan Davis, which takes the new trinity of Marvel Comics: Iron Man, Thor, and again Captain America. That's Captain America, and transports them. They get transported by accident to a damaged and dystopian version of Asgard, Thor's home, and have epic adventures that really bring them together as 3 close friends. So it was done really well. There's a personal element that really works. Okay. All right, and we'll finish up with these 3. Fantastic. These are also by Kurt Busiek, also with artwork by the great George Perez, and it's their run on the Avengers. This is volumes 1, 2, and 3 of their run on Marvel's Comics The Avengers. The last great run of the Avengers. Just classic, wonderful, personality-driven superhero comics. If all of Marvel Comics were like this, I would buy them constantly. And I remember when these issues were coming out, right from the beginning, I thought, wow, this is the golden touch. These 2 know, on some level, they know that they're writing a great run of the Avengers. And this is a great run of the Avengers. In my opinion, the last great run of the Avengers. And who knows, maybe the last great run ever. Fantastic stuff. If you like 4 square meat and potatoes Marvel Comics with all the characters as themselves. So Captain America is not a Nazi. The Hulk is not a teenage Asian boy. The Iron Man is not a teenage girl. Thor is not a woman. If you want the classic iterations of these characters done perfectly and with big cinematic action sequences, oh boy, you can't go wrong with these 3 volumes, which I don't think I'm trying to remember if Marvel's ever made them in one big volume. I think maybe they have. But with those big volumes, unfortunately, you won't get the tight focus. You'll get a lot of stuff that you don't want. Whereas these are just great adventure stories. Again, I don't know what they're doing out here. Maybe I purged the graphic novels from my room, my little book room, and just put them out here. I don't know. but that's... Oh. See, even putting the books down to talk to you about them caused an avalanche. This Mordor has got to fall. the lidless eye has got to be defeated. But maybe not today. So I'll wrap this up. That's Vlogmas for you. And now I have a mess to clean up. And then we will talk again. Thank you, BookTube.